Well,
wow.
Yeah, what an episode.
That's
What a
Randy.
guy.
Yeah, I don't like. We always say, "What an episode," or "Another great episode," or whatever.
I know people are gonna get tired of me going, "Oh, well,"
Yeah,
but really for that one,
it's really for that one. But there's so much value in that conversation for anybody.
yeah,
I don't care if you train jiu-jitsu. I don't care if you're a younger person looking to get out in the workforce and take some life lessons from there. I don't.
or if you're a dad trying to teach your kid, be like, "Hey, the first 30 minutes of that, turn it on, listen to it, and take it to heart. Find work."
Yeah, that or anybody like a person could listen to this episode. What is it? Pushing 2 hours? Going to be close to
it'll be
2
closer.
hours? Let's
Yeah.
just call it 2 hours. You could listen to an hour and 57 minutes of it and take away nothing. And you get to the quote that he dropped at the end from the author that, and we just heard it, and I've never heard it before, and I'm not going to get it right here. But where joy is a habit, love is a reflex.
Yep, Bob Goff.
If people
Look at him. He got goosebumps again. He
I
just
got
said it.
goosebumps. I got goosebumps thinking about it. If people would be mindful of that just in everyday life, it would be it would change the world.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm guilty of that myself. I don't find joy in everything. It's easy to sit back and be pissed off and bitch about stuff.
Yes.
But man,
super guilty of it. We're all super guilty of it. And that's something that you have to be intentional about. If you're going to be successful at trying to adopt that mindset, it has to come with intention.
yeah.
It doesn't happen by accident. Anybody, whether you're a jiu-jitsu fan or not, like the episode's worth listening to just from the wisdom of a guy that's been around
For 100+ years.
He's got some years on most of the people that'll listen to this.
100%.
You know, he's going to be a little older than most of the people that'll listen. So there's a lot of wisdom there that the rest of us won't have. It's not. There's a ton of jiu-jitsu talk in this episode, but it's not just relevant to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but wisdom that some people will pay good money to go sit down with a person and get it from them.
It would pay dividends for people to listen to this episode.
100%.
And it's free. I mean, the advice that the guy has, the wisdom he has, I got tons of respect for the guy.
Yeah.
Love learning from him. Love listening to him talk. I could have listened to him talk all night. Unfortunately, we all have jobs and life.
Well, some of us do. Some of us are retired. He's so lucky.
He's
okay. I say
paid
he's
his
lucky,
dues.
but
paid his
he's
dues.
earned it. He's earned everything that he's got.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, here's Randy.
Enjoy.
How you guys want to start?
Well, I think you should start it. You've got the most history with him.
Okay.
You know Randy the best. How long have you known him?
Oof.
I mean, I can start it. I'm happy
No,
to
I'll
start
start. I
it.
don't know.
Seven, 8 years.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but I worked out at CFI.
You did?
I
He
did.
not know that.
What did you do?
I worked in recruiting and HR side.
You are kidding me.
You're one of the VPs of the place, and you didn't even know he worked there.
What year was that?
Didn't even know your people.
Hmm.
Sad.
2015.
So 2015, I would have, I was over maintenance at that time.
Yep. When did you go to safety?
Wow. 1989, I went into safety the first time.
Yeah.
And then I left to go to maintenance in 97. And then I came back to safety in 2000. And then I went back to maintenance in 2010 or 2011. So I would have been in maintenance at that time. So I would have been in the building, the shop back there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in the office other than the main office. And
We were still out there a lot, bringing drivers in, going out and talking and
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah. Well, I probably met you and
yeah, because when you started at AForce, I recognized you when you first walked in.
really,
Uh-huh.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
How funny.
I know. Crazy, huh?
That's a small world.
Small world.
Huh.
So yeah, if you take that side out of it, then we've known each other for jiu-jitsu for so when you started about the same time I did, was it 2017?
I try to remember when that was, and I think it was 17 or 18 maybe.
Yeah.
It was before the pandemic, obviously. Right. I trained for a while before the pandemic, but I never can remember when I started. I know Pranker and I know Mike and the Mikes had just got their brown belts.
Okay.
So I don't remember when that was.
I think they said they got those in 2018.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
So it would have been, because I think they got their brown belts in like April, and I think I started in like
Right after.
May
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
So
we started pretty close at the same time.
yeah. I think you were already there.
Yeah.
When I started.
I was, because I remember purple belts and then them getting their promotions, but not by a whole lot.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. You were there a little bit before me.
Yeah, well.
But then you took a break for a while.
A long break, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, sad. So
Which happens a
he's
lot.
a brown belt, and you started before him.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He had so much time. Look at all this retired time he's had.
Yeah.
There.
I do. I mean, I
Have made the most of your jiu-jitsu time being retired.
Yeah, a lot. And when I was, competing to do Master Worlds and stuff, on a normal week, I'm on the mats 12, 15 hours because of the kids' classes and the adults' classes and everything. But when I was like training for Master Worlds, I was there 4 or 5 days a week and plus open mats. And I was training a lot. And I was also driving to Arkansas every week, training with black belt down there in Arkansas,
privates.
doing privates with Luis down there. And so I was training a lot, and I was doing fitness with Joseph 2 times a week too. So
I said it in Matt Hayes' episode, and I'm going to say it again. I've got to stop being such a pussy.
well, when you're retired though, you have the time to do that.
It's
yeah,
the
but
recovery.
he couldn't recover. Even if he had the time and the money to do it, his body could not heal.
I'd die. Twice a week, and that's been a long week of jiu-jitsu. I was super proud of myself last week. I rolled 5 rounds the other night. Like, that's the most I've rolled in a night.
So you should go to summer camp.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
Did you not just hear me?
Give him another year of working out and losing weight, and then he'd be there.
Yeah, it's obviously getting better.
Yeah.
But
Summer camp is brutal.
is it? How
Yeah.
old were you when you started jiu-jitsu?
56,
Gee,
50.
maybe Christmas.
Well, there's a story behind that too. I don't know what path you want to take here.
I don't care. But let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
Go back to CFI?
no, let's go back before that.
We're just jumping right to jiu-jitsu?
No, let's just start. Like, where were you born at? Like,
Oh.
let's hear your upbringing. I know that there was no color TV or indoor plumbing when you were born, but let's just hit that real fast.
Marched with Moses and all that fun stuff.
My kids ask me all the time, "What was Jesus
Yeah,
like in
100%.
school?"
How was Jesus?
Come on.
So I was born and raised in Joplin, basically been there all my life. And I used to tell the story when I worked at CFI that I was born, raised, and lived within 13 miles of my office my entire life. Now, other than when I was driving a truck after CFI and I went out on the road. And can I say CFI?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want to.
And I went out and I was out on the road. But as far as everything else, it was right there, Joplin. I never realized how naive I was until I got out on the road. I was 22 years old and been in Joplin all my life.
Joplin, Missouri is the center of the universe.
And I go out on the
Pretty
road.
close.
Yeah.
I go out on the road and I'm like, wow, this is crazy out here on the road. So
Yeah.
It was an experience. But anyway, I was born in Freeman Hospital, which they just tore it down on 20th Street. It was
the old Freeman.
The old Freeman on 20th Street. That was the hospital I was born in. And then I went I went to Joplin schools. We did live in Carl Junction between Joplin and Carl, and I went there for about 3 years in elementary school, but otherwise it was Joplin schools. And I graduated from Memorial High School in 1980, back when we still had 2 high schools.
Yeah.
And through high school, I worked at Chicken Mary's, which is where Granny Schaefer's is today. Used to be Chicken Mary's.
Really?
On Rangeline?
Yeah. Yeah.
Had no idea.
I guess I just always thought they were
Wait.
Kansas places.
Yeah, and that's what
Yeah,
obviously
I
what
had
comes
no
to
idea.
mind. Chicken Mary's and Chicken Annie's over there by
In
Pittsburgh. How long ago did Granny Schaefer's turn into Granny Schaefer's? It seems like I kind of remember that.
So Granny Schaefer's was in Webb City in a restaurant. I'm going to say kind of right there where like Subway is. There's an insurance, like a State Farm insurance thing there, and Arby's and all that is kind of right there in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was like a restaurant there, and it was actually like a some kind of a chicken place. It wasn't Chicken Mary's, but it was some kind of like some other Dixie chicken, or I don't remember what it was. But then the owner, when he moved into the where Chicken Mary's used to be, where it's at now, where Granny Schaefer's is now, they changed the name to Granny Schaefer's, and I don't know the whole story of that, but we were there until I was there until I graduated high school, and but I was only 17 when I graduated. So my dad's like, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "I want to be an electrical engineer." And he's like, "Okay, find a school, and I'll help you out, you know." So I found a school, and then I was like, I don't want to leave Joplin. And he said, well, you can't fry chickens all your life. He's like, you got to get a real job. So he got me a job in a machine shop of a friend of his that he owned at, and I worked there for like 4.5, 5 years. And then a friend of mine's, I'm like, I'm tired of the machine shop. I want to do something different. I don't know what to do. And a friend of mine was a truck driver for CFI. And he said, why don't you go to apply at CFI? Well, I didn't have any experience, so they said, you have to go to truck driving school. So I went to Crowder College to the truck driving school. I was actually in the second class they ever had down there at the truck driving school. And I graduated from there and went to work for CFI, and I was there for 37 years.
So was CFI always drive in over the road?
When I worked there,
Yeah.
or the company?
No, like when you started, were they doing it was over the road drive in?
Yeah, it was over the road drive in, except the only difference is back then they didn't have company trucks. Everything was a lease truck.
Okay.
But not owner operators, but like you might own 10 trucks and lease them to CFI. And what they would do is they would write 2 checks every month or whatever. They would pay the driver, because we were considered employees,
Right.
even though I drove your truck. So they would write you a check for so much per mile, and they write me a check for so much per mile. So I was actually an employee, and you were actually what we called a contractor
Yeah.
to the company. And I actually drove for Frank Petty. I drove his truck, who owns Frank's Lounge up on Main Street.
Yeah.
That's who I drove for, was Frank Petty. Nicest guy you ever meet. And so I drove for him until I came off the road. So,
What year did you go off the road?
1980. I went to work at CFI in 85, and I came off the road in 88. So I drove for about 3 years, just right at 3 years.
Did CFI used to be
It's been a couple things.
just, well, a different location?
Oh.
They're about 7th and Travis Acres,
So
between Duquesne and Dunaweg.
yes, so that's where it was. We were on Davis Boulevard when I went to work there.
Okay.
And I don't know when they moved from 7th Street, but originally it was on 7th Street somewhere. I don't ever remember the building or anything like that, but it was somewhere. I've seen pictures of the building, little bitty shack, and then they moved to Davis Boulevard at some point, which I don't know when that was. And when I went to work there, we were on Davis Boulevard, and then we built. That was in 85 when I went there, and then we built the new building out on 32nd Street. And we moved in there in like October of 1993. So
I remember when that big facility got opened up. But I want to say that when they were on 7th Street, it was just, so my grandparents, you know where Travis Acres Road is off of 7th Street, kind of connects 7th Street to Newman Road. There's a church there, and then east of there, I think there's a FedEx.
oh yeah, I know where you're right.
Right in there, I think, is where CFI was at one point.
Yeah.
I think it might have been where the church is, actually.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
That's Jeff Kingery's church.
Okay.
He's with Legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say that church is where CFI was.
Might have been.
I'm
I don't
pretty sure
remember
it
it,
is.
but
Long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up out that way, so
oh, okay.
that's why I'm so familiar
Yeah.
with it. But yeah.
So
Well,
he started driving for CFI before I was born.
That hurt.
Wow. Taking subtle shots at Randy.
Definitely before. Yeah, before Colton's born for sure too.
I graduated high school before Colton was born.
My parents were. What you drove in? What 80?
I went to work there in '85.
Yeah, my mom would have been 13. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So you survive Conway, CFI, XPO, and then back to CFI. Did you retire at CFI, or was XPO when you retired?
So it was owned by TFI.
TFI.
So we were CFI, and then we were Conway, and then we were XPO, and then we were TFI, and then we went. Well, they bought the Heartland Express bought them after I left there, but when we were bought by Conway, we relabeled everything Conway.
I worked for them during Conway Truckload time.
Okay,
Yeah, I
So-
got fired from there during Conway Truckload time.
Look at this.
you
small,
worked at
small
Conway.
world. He got fired from the maintenance department. How about that?
No, not the maintenance department.
What were you?
Randy fired Colton. That's where I'm going with it.
No,
One of my greatest achievements.
Fair. I probably deserved it.
What department?
I was dispatching.
Really?
Mhm.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yep.
Huh? What year was that?
Oh shit. 'Cause I was fresh out of like the year after high school, so 15, 16 probably.
I'll be darned.
What'd you do to
So
get
you were there
fired?
about the same time Trent was.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. So they have like 2 weeks of OJT and then 2 weeks of classroom training to learn the AS400 for the dispatching and stuff.
Ugh.
So you take the test once. If you fail it, they give you 2 weeks of OJT, and then you take it again. Well, I failed by I think it was like one question the first time, and then I took it a second time and passed. But the trainer lady was like, "Oh, it averaged the 2 tests, and it gave you a 90 something." And I knew like if you don't pass the test, you're basically out of a job. And I was like, "So am I going to be fired?" And she was like, "No." And I got up at like 3 a.m. to go to work that morning, and they walked me out. And I was like, sweet.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah.
He still hadn't learned to use that disability.
No, yeah, you
No.
could have
Yeah.
definitely used that disability
I
card.
probably could have. I didn't even
100%.
think about it.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Wow.
Just didn't know that
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So you always tell everybody you cleaned the bathrooms like you were a janitor at CFI and, you know, that fortress that you live in. Like we know that's not true, but would like to hear about your career path. Because I know you started driving a truck, but you worked your way up through the company and everything. So
Yeah. So when I went to work at CFI, there was only about 250 drivers, and when I retired, there was 3,000 drivers. So there,
right.
I was really fortunate to go to work at CFI when I did, because I got to be there through all the growth, and with growth comes opportunities.
Right.
And so I just got blessed with a lot of opportunities at CFI to advance, and I just was fortunate to be there to do that, and was able to do that, and was blessed with that. So
I'm sure none of it came from like, you know, good work ethic and, you know, doing the right things all the time and, you know, that kind of thing too, though, right?
well, I think that you definitely have to follow those guidelines
Right.
to advance.
So how long did you drive for?
So I drove for right at 3 years.
Okay.
Yep, I drove right at 3 years, and it was funny because I'll never forget, my fleet manager's name was Dawn, and Dawn, you know, back then we, you know, when I went to work there, we still had rotary dial phones, so we had to call in every day. Solo drivers had to call in every morning before 10 o'clock. Teams had to call in by 10, and then I think by 3 o'clock or something, but I never ran team. And so I would call my dispatcher every day. I was on Dawn's fleet, and I would call him every day and go, "Hey, this is Randy, 1558, and, you know, here's where I'm at, and everything's going good." And I'll call you when I get delivered.
Is that literally how they dispatched you too?
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so anyway, I was one of those guys that I knew Don was busy, and I would call and go. He'd say, "This is Don." I say, "Don, this is Randy, 1558. I'm in Oklahoma City. I'm empty. And what do you got for me?" And then he would just tell me, call me back in an hour or go pick up this load or whatever it is there was. And I wasn't a real needy driver. I didn't need a whole lot. Just tell me where to go and when to be there, and I'll do the rest. And one day I called in, and he's like, "Hey," he goes, "we don't ever get a chance to talk." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I know you're busy, and I don't want to tie you up." And so anyway, we visited for a little bit. So like another week goes by or something, and I call in, and he's like, "Hey, I got a question for you." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Have you ever thought about coming inside?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm 22 years old and driving a truck. I'm having a good time. I enjoy it. I'm getting to see the countryside." And I'm like, I'm fine where I'm at." And he goes, "Well, they have an opening here in dispatch, and you would be really good at that." And I'm like, I don't know. I'll think about it. So the next day I call in, and he says, "Hey, I got a load for you coming to Joplin." And I'm thinking, what did I do? I thought maybe I was in trouble for something. And I'm like, what happened? What did I do? And he goes, "Oh no." He goes, Joe wants to talk to you." Joe was the director of operations. And Joe wants to talk to you. And I'm like, "What, did something happen, Don?" And he goes, "No, he wants to talk to you about that job in dispatch." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not really sure that I want that job in dispatch. Want a job in dispatch." And he goes, "Well, just come in and talk to Joe anyway." So I came in, I got home like a couple days later or whatever, and I go into Joe's office, and I'm like, "Yeah, guess I'm here to talk to you about a job." And he goes, "Yeah, you want it?" And I went, I don't know. And I said, he said, "Well, if you don't want it, I'm going to offer it to somebody else." And I'm like, "Well, I don't really know if I want it or not." And he goes, "Well, how come?" I said, "Well, I'm enjoying driving a truck." I'm like, "I don't know that I really want to come off the road." And he goes, "I tell you what," he goes, "come into dispatch, take the job, come into dispatch, and if you don't like it, you can go right back out on the road." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I can't hardly beat that deal." I said, "But I need to talk to Frank and let Frank know what's going on." And he goes, "I already talked to Frank." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So like 2 days later, I'm, in the office, and so I worked nights because that was I trained during the day, and then I went to nights, and I was, I don't know, there 3 or 4 or 5 months or something like that. And then they had an opening come up on days, which was a fleet manager on days, and they said, "We want to move you to days." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Now I get to go to days," which was really kind of the ideal thing. And so I go to days, and I'm dispatching, fleet managing in days, on days for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months. And one day I come back from lunch, and I get a message, and it's what the girl says, "Hey, Herb wants to see you." Herb was the vice president of safety for CFI, Herb Schmidt. And I'm like, "Oh my goodness." And so anyway, I go upstairs, and I'm like, "Yeah, can I speak to Herb?" And she's like, "Yeah, hang on just a minute." And I walk into his office, and he gets up and goes over and shuts the door. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what in the world has happened?" And he goes, "Hey, we got an opening in safety, and I want you to come to work in safety." And I'm like, "Well, doing what?" And he goes, "Handling claims." So trucking company, lots of accidents, cargo claims, that kind of stuff. And he said, "Do you want the job?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I guess." And he goes, "It pays $1,000 more a year." And I went, "Okay."
Sold.
Yeah.
I mean, I was broke, and $1,000 was, almost $100 a month. And so anyway, I moved into that position, and I worked for Bruce was his name. And Bruce got promoted to director of safety, and then I got promoted to manager, and then he got promoted to vice president, and then I got promoted to director. And then one day Bruce calls me in his office, and he goes, I don't know, I'd been in safety working for Bruce for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years maybe. And he says, "I'm not going anywhere." And I'm like, "Good." And he's like, "Well, but that creates a problem for you." And I'm like, "It's not a problem for me." And he's like, "Well, I feel like I'm in your way." And I'm like, "I don't know what you mean by that." And he goes, "I feel like you deserve more." And I'm like, "Well, I don't I don't know what you're trying to say here. And he said, well, they're looking for somebody to move to maintenance. And he said, there's a director's position open in maintenance, which there's no vice president of maintenance. And he said, so that might be an opportunity for you. And he said, I've already talked to Glenn, who was our president and chairman, CEO. And he said that you could have that. So anyway, I moved over there. And then like 2 years later, I got promoted to maintenance. Well, I worked in maintenance for just a few more months. And then Bruce, who was the vice president of safety, he left. So Herb Schmidt then got promoted to president. Herb comes to me and says, hey, Bruce is leaving and you have the most knowledge of the safety department and how everything works. I need you to come back to safety. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go back to safety. So I worked in safety for till about 2010 or something like that. And, or no, I guess it would have been maybe 3 or 4 years later, whatever. Anyway, Bruce is coming back to CFI. So, and they had a vice president of maintenance position open. And they said, Herb said, hey, Randy, Bruce is coming back. Do you want maintenance or do you want safety? What do you want? And I said, I hit the table, didn't I? I said, well, I'll just stay in safety. I'll just stay in safety. And he's like, okay, well, I'll give Bruce maintenance. All right. Okay, so Bruce worked in maintenance. Well, then Bruce decides to leave again. And Herb comes to me and he goes, hey, Bruce is leaving. Do you want to stay in safety or do you want to go to maintenance? What do you want? And I'm like, oh, I think I'd like to try to go back to maintenance because in safety I had to travel quite a bit, and I had 2 boys. I was raising 2 boys, and so I said it would be easier on me to be in maintenance with a lot less travel, and so I moved back to maintenance, and then I was there till I retired. So that's kind of how the story went. I mean, it was really kind of as simple as that.
Just hard work and doing a good job at your job, and you became a commodity to, everybody recognized that you had the ability to do what needed to be done.
I guess. I don't.
It's crazy looking back when he retells it and looks back, it seems like it was super easy. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to account for those years he was there that he was stressed and working his butt off and driving and away from his kids and everything else.
The leadership, like his leadership is, definitely, I can't say definitely, but being around you at the gym and seeing the leadership role that you take at the gym, I'm, pretty confident that was, that's always been who you are. And they recognized that, and, that translated to your career.
It's funny when I was telling you the story about I worked at Chicken Mary's, and when I decided not to go to college, my dad said, you got to have a real job. And he got me the job at the machine shop. So he told me, he said, Paul wants to talk to you. So I went to Paul, who owned the machine shop, and I interviewed him that day, and I went home, and my dad says, so what'd Paul say? And I said, well, I got the job. And he goes, good. And he goes, but I'm going to tell you right now, I got you that job, but you got to keep it. And he said, don't ever let me come in there and see you standing around. If you don't have anything to do, you grab a broom. And I was like, yes, sir. And that's just kind of the way I live my life. I didn't stand around. I didn't, if something needed to be done, I just did it. If it was cleaning the toilets, I cleaned the toilets. It didn't really matter to me. I just saw things that need to be done and do it. And like when I came to AForce, I mean, I see Mike cleaning the mats and cleaning the toilets and stuff, and I'm like, well, I can do that. I can do that. And I always wanted to do that because I wanted the mics sitting around BSing with the people afterwards because I wanted the gym to grow. I wanted the gym to do well. And if they're cleaning the bathrooms and the mats, they can't sit around and talk to everybody and, have a powwow with the new white belts coming in. Right. And I want them to do that because I want them to grow. And I just always felt like at CFI, my job was to make my boss look good. Whatever that took. And that was calls at 2:00 in the morning and travel on a drop of a hat. And I just did what I had to do, and I didn't do it. I didn't do it looking for something. I just did it because it was just kind of the right thing to do. So it's kind of the way that's always the way I kind of looked at it.
So I've got a real funny story that goes with that. So I'm like 95% sure it was my orientation day that they were walking us around showing it, or I was walking some drivers around doing orientation. One of the two. Walking between HR or the back where the grill and stuff is, out to the driver's lounge.
Yeah.
We're walking. I knew who you were. You're walking across there, and trash is blowing. And somebody, it wasn't me, somebody mentioned you and your role in maintenance or safety. It was probably maintenance, go by that time. Mentioned you. About that time, there was trash blowing across the lot. You ran down, picked up a handful of trash, and walked it over and put it up. And I was like, that guy, that is the guy that I want to be. And it's the little things that you don't even know. But that is what you do every single day to drive culture, whether it's at CFI, it's at your house, at the gym. Those are the little things that got you promoted and where you are.
Yeah, I guess so. Again, I was never one of those guys that, well, let me back up. I would be at CFI and I would see somebody get promoted and I would go, why him? Wonder why not me? It didn't make me mad. It didn't upset me. It wasn't like, well, I'm going to leave, or anything like that. But I worked there 37 years, never once asked for a raise and never once asked for a promotion. Everything just happened. But I would see these guys and they would get promoted. Well, they were the guys that were constantly going to their boss going, I want that job. I want, somebody leave and I want that job. I can do that job. And they would never stay. I mean, a year and a half later, they're gone. And I've come to realize that they weren't setting me up to fail. They were setting me up to succeed. So I always felt like that they saw where I needed to be and I was appropriately placed every single time. And every single time it worked, But there were times when I thought, well, I could do that job at the time. But then I look back on it and go, yeah, I wasn't ready for that. And they knew that. The people that were my bosses, they were smart enough to see that. But I wasn't smart enough to see that at the time. But then when I look back, I could see that at the time. And I think that kind of relates to jiu-jitsu in some ways too. Sometimes people that chase the belt, they think they're ready for that belt, and maybe their coaches, they're going to their coaches going, I want a belt, I want a belt, I want a belt. Well, the coach is looking at them going, I don't know that you're really ready for that. And then they fight for that belt, but they're really not ready for it. And they can kind of set themselves up for failure when the coach wants to set them up for success.
That would be a nightmare. Like this conversation happens in all of the podcasts talking about belt promotions and stuff. Like it gets brought up in a lot of them, but that would be a nightmare to get promoted to a belt that you weren't ready for, I think.
But I think that there are times when people want that belt, and I think there's probably times when coaches probably...
It's an ego thing, you think?
A what?
An ego thing?
Yeah, I think it's an ego thing for some people. I'm not saying in our gym. I don't see it in our gym, but I just think that probably does happen in the jiu-jitsu world because there are people that's their whole focus is to get belts, to advance and get belts and everything. And I don't think that any of us can sit here and say that we don't all want that. I think we all want that, and I think there's always this debate about stripes. Should there be stripes? Should there not be stripes? And all those kinds of things. And I think that in the sport of jiu-jitsu, I think it's good to show people some advancement. It's kind of like getting a raise at work. It's even if it's not a huge raise, at least you got something. You got recognized. So a stripe is kind of like that. And I think that it's good for people to be able to see that they've progressed. But I guess what I'm getting at is I trusted my superiors not to put me in a bad spot. And I think jiu-jitsu is the same way, trusting in your coaches to be able to appropriately place you where you need to be and having trust. If you're working for somebody that you don't trust, why are you
there? Yeah.
And if you're training with a coach that you don't trust or you don't think is making the right decisions, why are you there?
Yeah.
And I mean the mics are like the mics forget to give stripes and they forget that kind of stuff, which I think is kind of funny. But I don't care, I don't care about that. I don't care. And, whatever they want to do is fine with me. But it's funny because sometimes they'll forget, and somebody probably really does deserve something, and I'm sitting there kind of seeing it, and I'm thinking, I think maybe that guy should be a blue belt, but I don't say anything, it's up to them to make that decision. But then he'll be like, oh, dang, I forgot to promote him, and so it's kind of funny how that kind of works, But some gyms are very structured, about how they do that kind of thing. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's just different than ours. Ours is pretty relaxed culture, and pretty relaxed environment. And the mics are pretty relaxed, So,
Super chill.
Yeah, yeah. But I just think that if you don't trust your coaches to, I just go, why are you there? I wouldn't be there if I didn't trust them.
It's pretty black and white.
We could take that first 30 minutes and just say, this is how to be an adult. This is how to get promoted. This is how to just show up and do your job. Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like just that part. I'm like, oh, we could wrap it right here and I'd be thrilled. But I got a feeling we're getting ready to take a deep, well, actually, I want to, before we take the deep jiu-jitsu dive, let's talk about family.
Mm-hmm.
Married, have some boys. How did that play into work?
How did it play into work?
Or kind of like what got you to where you are today? Like what? Catch everybody up.
So, okay. So, yeah, I got married 1998 or whatever. We ended up.
So you were a little bit older.
Yeah, I was 34 or something like that before I ever got married. And we had two boys. I got divorced in 2010, and I got primary custody of the boys. So that was part of the reason that I went to maintenance, because of the less travel and having the boys more and having the split marriage and that kind of stuff. And that's a whole other story. But prior to that, in 2007, we moved to a new house. When I was still married, we moved to a new house and in a subdivision there, and I built a garage. And above that garage, the HOA, the detached garage had to conform to certain requirements because you're in an HOA. And one of the things was that it had to have a 12-12 pitch. And so when the guy building the garage drew the drawings up, he had this 12-12 pitch. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, you think we could put a room up there? And he goes, oh, yeah, you could put a room up there. And I'm like, well, why don't we just put like a room up there, and I'll just put like a studio apartment up there. And I thought, maybe my mother-in-law might have to move in with us or something. And so we'll put a studio apartment up there. So we just did a studio apartment. And so my youngest son was, I don't know, 4th, 5th grade or whatever. They were playing sports, football or whatever. Well, one of his friends, dad, we were talking one day, and he's talking about wrestling. And he said, we ought to get some mats and let the boys wrestle and stuff, because his son was into wrestling. My son was not. And I'm like, yeah, I guess we could do that. And he goes, I could probably find a space in maybe the garage or something. And I said, hey, I've got a hole upstairs. I said, we could just put them up there, It was probably 1,000 square foot up there. And I said, we could just put them up there. And so anyway, we put them up there, and I don't know anything about wrestling. And so he's up there showing the boys a few things, and he's like, you want me to show you a few things? I'm like, yeah, show me a few things. And he goes, you know what we ought to do? We ought to do some jiu-jitsu stuff. And I'm like, what? What's jiu-jitsu? I don't know. I never heard that in my life, And he was already a blue belt, which I didn't know that, but he was already a blue belt. And he actually knew the mics when they were at Mitre, right next to the Mexican restaurant there. They were kind of over there. So anyway, Eric is coming over to the house, and he's showing me a few things. And he goes, hey, would you mind if I invited somebody else over? And he goes, my wife knows a lady whose husband says he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, sure, invite him over. Well, he comes over, and Eric was kind of like, I don't really know this guy. I don't really know if he's really a black belt or not. So anyway, he comes over one night. He's showing some stuff or whatever. Of course, I don't know what's going on. So anyway, this guy leaves, and Eric goes, that dude's good. He knows what he's talking about. So he started coming over. And so for probably about 9 months, like 2 nights a week, we were doing jiu-jitsu in my garage. And they started calling it the Garage Mahal is what they were calling it. Well, anyway, life happens. Everybody gets busy. We're not doing it anymore. And I go through the divorce, and then I'm driving to work every day, and all of a sudden I start driving by one day, and there's this banner in front of this strip mall that says Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm like, man, I would like to do that again sometime. And I thought, but I just don't have the time right now. So a few years go by, Carson, he goes off to the Army, and Garrett finally gets his driver's license so he can kind of haul himself around, He doesn't need me to haul him around. And I'm like, I think I got some free time now. I think I'm going to. So I stop in to the AForce one day, and I walk in there, and Big Mike is behind the desk, and, and I said, hey, I think I want to do some jiu-jitsu. And he's like, well, okay. And that's how I ended up there. Was I wanted to go back to doing jiu-jitsu because I enjoyed it, what little I did. And that's how I got back into jiu-jitsu at Mike's place. And kind of the rest is, that's where I met you.
Yeah, rest is history at this point.
The rest is history at that point. But that was my jiu-jitsu history. But I'm like, man, could you imagine if I would have in 2008 or 9 or whenever that was when I first did that in the Garage Mahal, could you imagine where I would be today if I would have stayed with it? But it's funny.
Scary.
It's funny because one day, not long after I went to AForce, I was at the gym, and I don't know if it was an open mat or what it was. This guy walks over to me. He's got a grin on his face, and he walks over and shakes my hand, and he's like, hey, Randy. And I'm like, hey, how are you? And he's like, you don't remember me, do you? And I'm like, I got nothing. And he goes, I've been to your Garage Mahal. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And he's like, no, I trained up there on the mats with you guys, and it's Aaron Brown from Arise in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, you're kidding me. You came to the garage. Yeah. He goes, yeah, I came up there, I think, a couple of times maybe and trained with you guys. And I'm like, unbelievable. But the guy that was the black belt, he left and actually went to Afghanistan as a government contractor doing heating and air conditioning. And he worked at not the main base, but what do they call the ones that are out, little bases?
Forward operating base?
Yeah, he was like at a forward operating base or something like that. And so anyway, he left to go do that. And I don't think he's done any jiu-jitsu since that time. And that was 8 or 9 or whatever, 08, 09, somewhere in that time frame. And I've seen him a couple of times, and I'm like, man, you need to come to AForce. You need to come and train. And he's gotten, pretty big belly on him.
Yeah.
And I told his wife one day, and I'm like, I'm going to get Clay on the mats. And she goes, oh, Lord, I'll go buy some Bengay. And but I've tried to get him to come and train, but, and now that I've done jiu-jitsu for a while, and I look back and see some of the things that he talked about, I'm like, he was good back then. And if he would have kept training, boy. And he's a good-sized guy, too. I mean, he's probably Little Mike's height, probably. But, now he's heavier. But at the time, he was a stud, So he would be, I don't know where he would be now as far as stripes and stuff, but he'd be pretty advanced. But
Yeah, way advanced.
Yeah.
yeah, way advanced. But it was fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I just always wanted to get back into it, but I had too much responsibility going on at the time, and it was just hard to find any free time, and so it's okay, it's all right, it worked out fine. I'm there now, and so it's
All
good.
right, well, let's unpack your responsibility. You were as much as you care to, I guess, you were a single dad with 2 boys. That never happens, that they will grant custody to dad. I mean, I deal with this stuff on the regular.
Yeah.
So props to you for stepping up and doing that.
Yeah. It was Yeah, well, I mean, divorce is not easy. There's no such thing as an easy divorce, or at least that I know of, and it's hard, and it's hard on the kids. It's hard on the parents, and it's hard all the way around. So,
Because you got grandbabies now?
no,
No,
my
not yet?
boys, neither one of them are married. My boys are 27 and 24. Neither one of them are married. One of them has a girlfriend. Has had a girlfriend for a couple of years. Youngest one's had a few girlfriends, but he doesn't have anything steady right now.
Yeah, those young ones, they get girlfriends.
What?
So do the old ones, and it just never works out.
Oh,
Oh God, cute him up for that one too. We gotta stop teeing this guy up. He's gonna turn on Keisha Cole on the drive home. Good grief.
Bitches.
Easy there, buddy.
He's gonna cry in the car.
No, he's not. What?
tear him up. Let's hear your jiu-jitsu questions.
Dude, I'm just listening
I
to
did.
this, man.
I did the precursor. That was our intro. That was a 40-minute intro. So
I'm just listening.
I caught us up now to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, the jiu-jitsu questions. Okay. I think this is a question. You were how old when you started?
I was like 56.
56?
I think 56 something, 57.
So I started at 45. And I'm like, what was your physical conditioning like when you started at 56? I mean, just like every other, middle-aged.
Yeah, I was probably 185 pounds, 185 to 190 pounds, probably 20 pounds heavier than I am now.
More
about.
gassy, if that's possible.
More gassy.
He was more gassy then than he is now.
We don't know what you're talking about.
I plead the fifth on that. And I mean, I wasn't a fitness guy. I mean, I wasn't like doing fitness or anything like that, and I just was just kind of a working dad, and
Just average middle-aged dude,
Strong as an ox, though.
right?
Just dad strength.
Yeah.
I can verify that.
old man strength.
That's
from hauling hay when I was a kid.
The reason I ask, I mean, I started at 45, and I was obviously, that's older to get started.
Yeah.
You had me beat by 10 years on that deal. The conditioning and they give me a hard time. Like, I feel like I'm going to die after a night or two on the mats, So what was the trajectory like as far as getting in shape, to be able to roll a bunch of rounds and train several days a week like you did? Was it something that you could, just walk in and you were training 4 days a week, or?
As I remember, when I started training jiu-jitsu at AForce, I was, mid to late 50s, if you will, and overweight, kind of out of shape. I wasn't in terrible shape, but I wasn't in great shape by any stretch of the imagination. And I think that at that point, I probably didn't know what my trajectory was. I just didn't know. I just came in and I just kind of flailed around and I wasn't really thinking about fitness or anything like that or conditioning, or I was just coming in flailing around. What really got me into focusing on the diet and the fitness part of jiu-jitsu was when I made the commitment to start competing. And when you compete, you have to cut weight unless you're, ultra heavy or, one of those. You have to cut weight and stuff. And I'm kind of right there at that weight. Like in IBJJF, my cutoff is 168 with the gi on, which is lightweight. Or I go to middleweight, which is like 185 maybe, I think, or something like that. So I'm like, I don't want to be 170 and compete against guys 185. So I would cut to about 162, 164, and then with my gi on, I'm coming right in at, maybe 166 or something like that. And so that's really where kind of what I would call the real fitness journey really started, and I started eating right, and then I started working out with Joseph. But it was really when I retired, that's when I really started kind of doing that stuff, because I just had time to do it. when I worked, I didn't take vacations. I didn't take days off. I didn't do that kind of stuff. I just didn't do it. And so, but once I retired, I'm like, hey, I can go to Vegas. I can go to summer camp. I can do all this kind of stuff. And that's when I really started focusing on that for about 5 years. I will say the last year or so, I've kind of fallen off of that a little bit. I did compete at Master Worlds last year. But that was in September of last year. And since that time, you know, I wasn't really so focused on my diet and stuff, but I was still training, you know, 3 nights a week, kids classes and all that, still working out with Joseph twice a week, still doing all that. Just wasn't watching my nutrition as much. Well, then what, 2.5 months ago or whatever, I had this ulnar nerve issue in my elbow that just really knocked it out of me. So I'm going to struggle when I come back in a couple weeks. I'm going to struggle. But I'm older and I'm wiser now, and I don't have to fight as hard because I know a few more tricks than, you know, some people do, and so I can manage my
manage the output.
Yeah, better now than I used to be able to.
I mean, I just think about, I mean, even still, we're getting close to 1.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, and it still is such an exhausting thing to roll a good round, like a good hard round, you know. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I ask people, I'm like, how do you get to where you don't feel like you're choking on air after rolling? And they're like, just keep doing it. And I'm like, that doesn't help.
Yeah, I think you just the just keep doing it thing, I think lends itself to learning to be more efficient over time.
That's it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm really getting at with you is starting at 55, 56 years old. Like I said, I started at 45. We're not young men anymore that have that endless gas tank, right? And there was many days, you know, at the beginning where I'd just be like, I don't need to be here. Like, this isn't for me. I'm too old. I'm too old to start. Like, it's too late in life to be doing this. And I think a lot of people probably think that, because if you watch Jiu-Jitsu, that's a young man's game.
Yeah.
Now, you can do it, obviously, until you're, you know, well advanced at an advanced age. But to start it at 45, 55 years old, that's late to the game, obviously. But obviously it can be done. Mm-hmm. Like, you did it and have stuck around for several years. And I started at 45, and I plan to be there for as long as I can do it. But it's not easy to get over that initial hump, I guess, was the point that I'm making. Like, for me, it's been a matter of, like, losing all the weight that I've lost recently has made a huge difference. But what advice would you give somebody that's starting the game at 45, 55 years old?
So I think the best advice that I would give is don't try to convince yourself you're 25. Just accept the fact that you're 45 years old or 50 years old, and you're not going to be able to compete with like-type practitioners that are 20, 25 years younger than you are. You can't do it.
That's such a it was hard for me.
Because what's that belt philosophy? Every 10 years or 10 pounds?
Brady belts.
Yeah.
Every every 10 years is a belt, and every 10 pounds or 20 pounds is a belt, is kind of what they talk about. But I think that's one of the hardest things, that because, you know, us old guys, we have this ego that we can keep up with these young guys, you know.
Well, our mind is still 25.
That's exactly right.
In my
That's
mind,
exactly right.
In my mind, I could go out and play baseball like I did when I was 18.
Yep, that's exactly right.
You know,
But
I'd pay good money to see you do that.
And I know I can't, but, you know, it being real, but in the moment, like, in my mind, I'm still 25.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still in my prime. Obviously, I'm not.
So we were at a summer camp probably a couple years ago, and Professor Denelson Pimenta was there, and he was coaching, obviously teaching us stuff. And I remember him saying, if you've ever seen him or his kids, when they win, they take their medal and they drape it over one arm, and then they hold the other to their head, and they're kind of pointing at their bicep with one hand the opposite bicep with one hand and they're pointing at their head. And what he said was, use your brains, not your muscle. And that really clicked with me, to use your brains, not your muscle. Because what he said was, he said, you'll run out of muscle. He said, you'll run out of muscle, you'll run out of gas, but your mind will always be, your mind will always be able to figure out what to do. But if you burn up all your gas, you can't do anything. So what happens is, like, if I'm rolling with you and you get on top of me, I can't get you off of me. I can't do that. What I have to do is I have to wait for you to move. And then when you move, that's when I'm going to find the opportunity to work my way out. I'm not going to move you. It's going to be very difficult for me to move you. And if I try, I'm going to gas myself out. And so what I had to learn to do was, I had to learn, because number one, not only am I old enough to be everybody's dad in the gym, I'm not a super big guy, you know. Colton gets this. I mean, I don't know what you are. What are you, 145?
145.
Yeah. So, see, I got almost 25, 30 pounds on you. And, but I've also got, 35 years on you too. So, I had to realize that I just can't fight these guys. I just can't fight these big guys. So what I have to do is I just have to stay tight, stay safe, and wait for you to move, and then I start working my way out. But you get a guy, I get Ace on top of me. I mean, am I going to move Ace? No, I'm not going to move Ace.
None of us are.
But yeah, none of us are. But, and not to mention, he's not only big, but he's getting good at jiu-jitsu
Really good,
too.
right,
So it's even worse. But yet he gets on top of me, and the first thing I got to do is I got to breathe. So I got to get myself in a position to where I can breathe, but I have to do that by waiting for him to move. If he gets on top of me, he can't just get on top of me and just sit there, because nothing's going to happen. He's got to move to submit me. When he moves, I'm going to move. That's when I'm going to move. So I'm trying to use my brain and not so much my muscle to try to compete with those guys. But I mean, the reality of it is I'm going to get submitted a lot more than a Drew by other people, just for the simple fact that I'm older, I'm not as strong, I'm not athletic. I mean, Drew's kind of a
different species.
yeah,
He's
a freak of nature when it comes to that stuff, and he's really good at jiu-jitsu, and he's very athletic. But he can fight his way out of things by using his athleticism and his muscle, where I can't do that. I just can't do that. And I just have to accept that fact. And I either just accept the fact and I get submitted, or I wait for them to move and I work my way out. I mean, that's really all you can do. But the more you train, the easier that is. So the more you train, the easier it is to see their mistakes and be able to capitalize on those mistakes and not use as much energy. And that just comes from time on the mat. So when people say just keep training, I wouldn't say keep training to try to make your cardio that much better, although you do want good cardio. Train to get better at jiu-jitsu, and then your cardio doesn't take as much cardio. But you got to be careful too, because then you get lazy. Because you'll just get lazy and you'll lay there and stay safe, because nobody's going to get to you. So what good is that?
I resemble that remark.
There's on all the the Facebook forums and stuff, they talk about the pudgy brown belts, because I guess at that point,
Yeah.
you've gotten good enough that you're talking about, you can kind of get lazy with most of the people by the time you've made it to brown belt, and you can just play with them, I guess. I don't know. I'm not there, but
you become really hard to submit.
Mm-hmm.
And when you become really hard to submit, you get lazy. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that just lays on bottom all the time. I want to be able to do something more than that myself. But there are guys that just become really hard to submit, and they get lazy, and so they don't have as much cardio and stuff, But for me, if I really want to focus my fitness and my diet, it's compete, because I know that I have to to meet those two requirements, because I got to meet weight and I got to be in fitness, because I'm telling you, nobody, until you go to Master Worlds and compete at that level, you don't understand what it's like at that level. It is just another level. And I don't care whether you're 30 or you're 60. It's a whole nother level at I mean, there's good competitors here in the area at these competitions and stuff. But at Master Worlds, everybody is there because they're dominating in the area, so they go out there to try to dominate at the world level, and so it's a really good experience. Even if you lose, just the fact that you're there and competing at that level is something to be.
I don't want to pay $300 plus travel to get my ass kicked. I can just show up on a random Tuesday night.
Yeah, and that's the hard part about it is it's a lot more than $300. You know, I mean, it's $150 entry fee or whatever it is, and then you got a flight, you got hotels, and it's really expensive to go out there and do it. But it's a cool experience. But for me, that's where I have to go to find guys my age, my size, my belt level. These local tournaments, every local tournament I've ever competed in, the oldest guy I competed against was like 42. So I've had to compete with 40-year-old guys 20 years younger than me. And so I got to go to the big tournament. I got to go to Master Worlds or Pans or something like that. And I've been to Pans too, to find guys my age and, that meet my same brown belt, 60 plus, 168 pounds or less. And so I kind of have to go there to do that. But it's fun. But that's when I'm the most focused on my diet and my exercise, is when I know I'm going to compete. I do better at that stuff.
I wanted to go back to talking about efficiency, and when you were talking about waiting on somebody to, somebody gets on top of you or whatever, bigger guy than you can't move them off of you, so you have to wait on them to move and then you move. I can totally vouch for that. And I know you guys have heard this story, and you did it to me.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was actually like a lesson in jiu-jitsu. I mean, I hadn't been around for maybe 6 months at the time. We were in the new building, and you and I were rolling, and I got on top of you. You let me get on top of you, pretty obviously. And, I'm thinking at that point, like, I'm kind of a big, burly guy. I don't know anything about jiu-jitsu at that point. I still don't, but I knew less about jiu-jitsu then. And I don't remember exactly how it went down because of the oxygen deprivation that I was experiencing. So there's blurry parts, but you had me in a full guard, I think, is where it started from. And I was trying to figure out how to pass it or, break the guard open or whatever. And then you had a triangle set up, and I was like, okay, like I'm kind of in trouble here, but it wasn't tight. Like there was nothing tight about it. I wasn't in trouble, but the position was bad. Mm-hmm. I wasn't in trouble as in the tap was imminent, but I was obviously in a bad spot. And like, okay, well, I got to try to figure this out. And you just kind of held me there. And then I moved. And I always compare it when I'm talking to people about it, because I tell this story a lot about like a ratchet strap. Mm-hmm. And you had the triangle set up. Like I said, it wasn't tight. No tap imminent at that point. And I'd try to, like, okay, do this. Click. Like one click in the ratchet strap. It just got a little tighter. It wasn't, like you were closer to having it locked up, but still it wasn't even close to being locked up. Like, oh, okay. That wasn't the right way to move, obviously, because he made it tighter. So then I tried to, like, okay, let's think about this. Let's do this. Click. Like one more click in the ratchet strap. Okay, it's getting a little tighter. And this went on for a series of movements. Like there was, you never rushed anything. I would say it's like a spider in a web. Like you just let me fly into it. And then I would try to move another direction. Click. And now it's like starting to get, I'm like, I'm going to be in trouble here real soon. Let's try this. Click. okay, I don't know what the fuck to do. So now I'm just going to like I'm going to try to like fight my way out of it. Click, 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 click. And then the next thing you know, I'm tapping because you let me screw up and you didn't do, and I think I said to you, I was like, you didn't even do that to me. You let me do it to myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't like you did some badass sequence of things like you watch a jiu-jitsu match and somebody does something really cool and you're like, gosh, dang, that was badass. You set it up and then you let me make it worse for myself and you just capitalized on my mistakes. And so that was a huge, like, I will never forget that in terms of like the efficiency on your part, the lack of effort that you put into it, the knowledge that it took to do that. I mean, at that point, I probably outweighed you by a solid 50 pounds, maybe more. And obviously younger. I wouldn't say I was more athletic at that point, like, because I was just like kind of a fat tub of shit. But like, it's still like visually, you would think it's a mismatch. Right, like you're smaller, you're older, like this burly, biker looking dude, probably gonna wad you up and handle you. Not even fucking close, like not even close, like no chance. So that's what I was thinking about the whole time when you were talking about if somebody bigger than you gets on top of you or whatever, like you can't move them. Physically, you're not going to be able to do it, so you have to wait on them to make the mistake that allows you to do something. And I went back to that role and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what he did. And it was a super humbling thing for me, like where I always appreciated jiu-jitsu, like the philosophy of it, I guess, or, whatever. But that was like a firsthand lesson in it where this smaller, older, dude is going to take advantage of what I don't know and strangle. I mean, you choked me like effortlessly. That's what I love about it.
I think he's done that to all of us at one point or another. But that's one thing that I miss about Randy being in the gym is you can start wherever you want and you just make it worse for yourself. And then you spend the rest of the time picking apart what you did wrong. And that's like, for me, I don't learn anything the easy way. So that's the best way for me to learn. And without Randy there, I just get rolled up like a pair of dirty underwear, and there's no explanation as to where I went wrong.
So what was your learning curve like? Starting out as a 55-year-old white belt, like you watch adults don't learn it as fast as the kids do, right? Like our minds don't absorb that knowledge as quickly. How long did it take you to feel like you were really starting to figure jiu-jitsu out?
So I would say that probably at purple belt is where I started kind of.
So when you say
There's
that,
hope.
Yeah. So when you say purple belt, do you mean like you felt like you were drinking through a fire hose until purple belt, or did you have a general understanding of some concepts you were just able to put them together at purple belt?
Yeah. So what I would say is that my experience at white belt was just really kind of trying to survive and learning how to defend myself from submissions and those kinds of things. And then blue belt, I kind of started maybe learning some submissions and things like that. And then purple belt, I kind of got to where I was maybe kind of putting some things together,
Right.
But that's the interesting thing about jiu-jitsu is we start out learning grab here, put your foot here, put your hands here, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. But as you progress, you start understanding that jiu-jitsu is not about putting your hand here or your foot here. It's about the concept. What am I trying to accomplish here? I'm trying to accomplish getting on top of this guy. Well, what do I got to do to get on top of this guy? Well, I got to get him on bottom. How do I do that? And it's kind of the concept of things. And it's like chokes. It's like you'll just start making up chokes. You won't have to do a specific choke. You understand enough about the concept of a choke that, if I'm behind you and I'm trying to do like a bow and arrow choke, let's say, and I reach around and I grab your collar on the opposite side, and I'm gonna grab your pant leg, and I'm gonna spin to the left, and I'm gonna throw my right leg up over your shoulder. Well, that's great. That's a choke. But as the more you practice jiu-jitsu, you start learning that there's a whole lot of other ways to do a type of bow and arrow choke that doesn't require you to do those exact steps. So if you can't get to a step, you go to somewhere else and you try something else. And because you understand the concept of what's happening, you're not having to do it specifically that way. And it makes jiu-jitsu easier to do because there's just a lot more things you can do. Also, you'll find that when you roll with me, I don't move real fast. Number one, I'm not gonna Hail Mary like an armbar because, number one, I don't want to hurt anybody. And if you ever roll with me, if I start to hit an armbar, you'll find that I don't grab the wrist. I grab at the elbow because that way I'm not hyperextending your elbow. But a lot of times, the new guys, they see an arm and they grab the wrist and they jump backwards.
Full send.
And they full send. And not that that's wrong. It's just that they just don't know. Well, I don't want to hurt anybody and I don't want to get hurt. So when I roll with people, a lot of times there's submissions there and I don't ever take them. I don't care if I submit you in a round. I'm not that guy. I don't want to. What I want to do is control you. That's really what my goal is to control you. Now, I will submit people sometimes, and if I get to a certain spot and it's just kind of obvious and I can do it kind of slow, I'll submit people. But my big thing is you can't submit somebody if you can't control them. And if I get really good at controlling, then the submissions come easy because they're everywhere. But if I can't control you, it's going to be really hard to submit you. So I like to spend a lot of time just controlling my opponent. And that's what I like to work on because I don't mind doing chokes because I'm not going to hurt you with a choke. But, like one night I grabbed Pranker in a toe hold, and I just grabbed it and I just immediately let go because I'm like, I am not going to hurt my coach, And so I just immediately let go. But I'll choke you because I'm not going to hurt you because I can do that really slow. And just like that triangle, I can do it slow and I don't have to do anything fast and I don't have to worry about hurting somebody. But joint locks, heel hooks, I'm not going to heel hook somebody. I might get the position, but I'm never going to finish it.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Knee bars, I might get the position and I might grab it and you might, a lot of times.
Scream. I scream as soon as you do that to me.
Well, a lot of guys, especially the new guys, they don't even know they're in trouble. They don't have any idea because I don't go that far with it. But I get it and then I just let go because, okay, I got it. He doesn't know it, but I got it. And
I scream loud.
So,
as soon as I feel that
From
knee
day
start
one.
straight, I just, oh, God.
From day one, like if somebody's touching my feet, I want to call the cops. Like, no, I know I'm in trouble.
But I think that's just kind of the way I am. Now there are some guys out there that every round they're going to submit and they're going to get whatever submission they can get, whether it be an armbar or a heel hook,
Pohot every time.
It doesn't matter.
Match.
There's some people that are going to do that, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. I'm just saying that's not the way I am, because I don't really care about that. I don't care about that. There's nothing better. There's no better feeling than for Ace to be on top of you and you get him off. That is like such a huge win, for me, that I just think that's the greatest thing in the world. I don't have to submit him. I don't have to get him. I don't have to do any of that. I just have to get him off of me, and it's like a win. So I don't have to go home at night and go, gosh, I only got 3 submissions tonight. I don't do that. I never do that. I never feel like I have to get submissions. I just don't do that. I don't know. I just like controlling people. That's what I really find enjoyable. I will do arm triangles sometimes. I like to do those. You know, I'll get on top of
Can't
it.
confirm.
I like to do the arm because I
Same.
can do that really slow, and I can do it really gentle,
Yep.
and you know,
Not super gentle.
some,
Still hurts.
sometimes
Still choked me.
sometimes I'll do those, but I just like the control part of it. That's really what I like. If you can control somebody, you guys know him. He came, another officer that came in for a while, and you know, and he was talking to me one night, and I'm like, just especially in your line of work, what are you trying to do? You're trying to control, you know, the person. Focus on controlling.
That was
people.
so fun. That first or second night that he came in, he goes, "Well, I'm ruined." What do you mean? He goes, "That old man, if he got out of his car, I would have walked up to him and said, I'm going to beat the shit out of you." And he successfully folded me up more times than I cared to count. Like, yeah, that's what happens.
Because he's not trained.
Yeah.
He's just not trained.
It's
Strong
just
as an ox.
wild
Oh my
because
God.
of
Strong
how
as an
strong
ox.
he is.
He's a freaking beast.
I know.
But the last time, before he left, the last time that I rolled with him, his control was so much better.
So frustrating now.
He was so much better. And I rolled with him. I'm like, dude, your control was really good.
And he uses that lapel now. He'll just grab a lapel and like stretch it out and hold it. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not going anywhere now.
Yeah, I was really proud of how far he had come. And he hasn't trained all that long.
No.
But I'm like, but his control was so much better than when he first started, you know. And being a police officer,
Yeah.
I think that's huge to be able to control your.
So when you talked about it, and I'll use him for an example. So he has a special way he learns. It's
fast is how he learns.
yeah, fast. He's super, and like talking to him, you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, he's super sharp. He just looks like a meathead. He's so smart. He reads all the time, but he's very much a concepts kind of person. So do you think there's any benefit? I'm lucky. Wednesdays, me and Justin are trying to fill your shoes. We're not doing a very good job of it. But like the way you teach kids, you teach a lot of grab here, do this, but then you always take a time, like 10, 15-ish minutes, and then there's a game or something revolving around the concept of it. And I lean that towards like the ecological jiu-jitsu kind. Thoughts, ideas, concerns about teaching more of a concept than like grab here, monkey grip, do this, pull this way.
I think when I started jiu-jitsu, if you would have tried to teach me concepts, I would have been completely lost. I needed to know, grab the collar here, grab the sleeve here. I needed to understand some of those things to be able to get to the point where I learned more about concepts. That's just me. That's just the way I learn. But when I was going to Arkansas every week for privates, man, I'm telling you, if you can do privates with somebody, you know, at that black belt level.
Well, my private partner got hurt. He's currently nursing an injury, so.
So anyway, if you find somebody to train with like that, the privates are so much that they're just I don't know. I just felt like I learned a lot from him, and I learned a lot about concepts from him too. But you know, and I would have people go, hey, why don't I go down there with you and I'll train, you know, and you know, be half of it. And I never did want anybody to do that because I told Luis, I'm like, I've had people ask me to come down here, but I'm like, I want this to be my time. I want this to be my questions. This is for me to ask my questions. And I would go down every week and train, and then I would go back to the gym and I would roll with everybody, and then I would figure out something that I was struggling with. And I would go back and I would say, okay. He'd say, okay, what's our question today? And I said, okay, do this. And I would put him in a position, and I would get in that position, and I would say, here's where I got lost. And he would be like, okay, what are we trying to do here? I'm like, well, I don't really know what I'm trying to do here. And he's like, well, what are you wanting to do? Are you wanting to sweep? Yeah, I want to sweep. Okay, well, what has to happen to sweep somebody? And he didn't go, well, just do this and do this. He would go down this path of, you know, there's a center line, there's a 45 line, there's, just all this stuff. You put your hand out here and you push on this shoulder. I'm not going that way if you push the shoulder that way. But if my hand's out here and you push the shoulder this way, I'll fall over. So he's like, you got to understand the concept of what you're trying to do. If he puts his hand out here, you can't go that way. You got to do something different. Why can't you go that way? Well, because he's got a brace. Well, what's the concept we're trying to accomplish to get him on his back? Well, you got to understand what's happening here to be able to understand what to do, because there's no two situations the same. And so we spend a lot of time talking about concepts on a one-on-one basis, and it really helped me. It really did help.
But that's like purple brown belt that you're grabbing a hold of concepts now.
Yeah, it was purple brown belt stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't getting that at white and blue belt.
Okay.
I'm sure there's some people that do that are a lot smarter than I am, but it didn't grasp. I didn't grasp it until that time. I tell you the other thing that happened to me. I don't know if it was white belt or blue belt, but I was Googling jiu-jitsu every night, and I was watching every freaking video that I could find on jiu-jitsu. And I'm a white belt, and I'm studying, berimbolo and stuff like this. And I had to go, stop it.
Yes, tell Matt to stop that.
You are trying to dig way too deep here.
Yep.
I said to myself, you're trying to dig way too deep here. You need to learn to block and tackle before you start going down those paths. And so I just literally stopped watching any jiu-jitsu videos unless it was what Mikes were teaching. So if Mikes were teaching a scissor sweep, I would Google scissor sweep. And if it was anything other than that, I didn't watch it. Everything was on the only thing I Googled. I just didn't Google any of it because I was overwhelming myself.
Easy to do.
So easy.
Absolutely. I found myself doing the same thing. And I did that I only stopped doing that probably a couple months ago. Because for me, I found it easy to, like, if I find something I enjoy or I find something I love doing, I can talk about it all the time. I can watch every video ever created about it. And then you kind of realize that you get too much going on up there. And then you can't focus on the thing you're supposed to be doing because you just watched 37 different techniques and you have no idea what they were actually doing because you don't understand anything about it. So.
Well, and I think understanding your game. What's your game? I'm not gonna spend a lot of time watching Mikey Musumeci doing berimbolos because I'm not going to berimbolo. I'm not going to do that. There might be pieces of it that I might use, but I'm not going to study that because I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to study is what I'm going to do, and that's trying to control that guy to get him to where I can get to mount to do an arm triangle. That's what I'm going to do, or get to S mount or something like that. The things that I'm going to do, and what's the old saying that who was it? Maybe Bruce Lee that said, "I'm more scared of a guy that's done one kick 10,000 times than a guy that's done 10,000 kicks one time." And so understanding what your game is at white and blue and maybe into purple belt. And then I think at that point you start just getting more understanding of the concept. So now, you see a video and you watch the video and you just get it. You understand exactly what they're trying to do because you understand the concept of what they're trying to do, and it just makes it easier. It doesn't mean I could do it, but I understand it, and because I understand what's the concept of what this video is trying to show, and you just get it. It just happens, and so. And you'll use some of that stuff, in a roll. You'll go back in your mind and remember it during a roll, and you'll do it and go, oh, well, it worked. And you just find your game, and don't spend a lot of time trying to do things that are just not part of your game.
When did you start figuring out what your game was?
Purple.
Really?
Yeah.
That gives me hope. I have no idea what my game's gonna be like.
I'm telling you, I look back at my white, blue, and even purple belt days today and realize just how much I didn't know. So imagine a guy like Pimenta that's 7-stripe black belt now or whatever he is. I mean, he's been a black belt for
12, 15 years?
25 years or whatever.
Really
yeah.
that long?
Yeah, 25, 26, maybe even 29 years. I don't remember how long he's. But imagine
The knowledge is just
and jiu-jitsu is never-ending knowledge. You know, when we were at winter camp this last winter, he was there and he was showing us a triangle, and he was showing us a different concept of the way to do the legs that he had just recently started learning and doing.
Just kind of dreamed it up.
And this is a guy that's been training for 29 years, or been a black belt for 29 years or whatever it is.
Bless.
And he's learning new concepts, you know? So that's just what jiu-jitsu is,
that's
know?
something that we've talked about in a couple other episodes, how the knowledge, the skill and the knowledge and the physical ability, they're not at their peak at the same time. It's impossible for them to be.
It's so hard.
You'll go to your grave with your knowledge and your skill at the peak, but your physicality is, long past.
If I had the knowledge that I have today at 25, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like crazy. It's crazy. But that's the thing about jiu-jitsu. It's such a hard sport that people don't stick with it because it is hard. I mean, it's hard on your body. It's hard on your people, especially people that have an ego, because they're like, I should be winning these battles, and they can't win them, because they haven't trained. They just don't know. But I try to encourage everybody that every night when they walk off the mat, think about what their win was for the night. Every night you should leave with a win. And it doesn't have to be a submission. It could be, I got my foot in the right place. I got my hand in the right place. I got my arm in the right place.
You didn't cry.
I showed up.
Showed up.
Yeah, I came in tonight. I didn't want to come in, and I came in.
Which half the time is because Colton makes me. He's like, I'll be at your house in 30 minutes.
Yes.
It's an accountability
Yes,
thing.
But every night you leave with a win.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a big win. It just, you have to have a win, because I absolutely guarantee you 100% that every night you leave, you will be better than when you got there.
Yeah.
Every
Not
time.
wrong.
I've had nights where my only win is, somebody subbed me 5 times instead of 6.
I've had a night where my win was, I hope I've already hit my deductible.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I mean, I would argue with you, but there's no point in it, because you understand. I mean, you've seen so much more of it happen. Like, there's days where I feel like I left worse off than when I showed up, but
we all have
it's
that
just
feeling.
it's the trajectory of it.
The ebbs and flows of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That's self-inflicted.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you that's self-inflicted, because I guarantee you learned something on the mat that night that you didn't know when you got there, or something that you'd seen before that maybe you forgot. You go, oh. I mean, that happens to me all the time now. Like, they'll be training, coaching, teaching something or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, I remember that. I'd forgot that we did that. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to use that, So it's something that I heard, but I just didn't remember it, because you don't remember 100%.
Yep.
It's funny, like, some of the wins that I think about, and I've actually commented on Facebook and some of the jiu-jitsu pages about this, because you see a lot of the white belts on there being like, when does this start to click? And it's like, I don't know.
5 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a time thing, but the the ability to recall something that you've learned at my level is I'll recall it during a roll as the opportunity to use it is whizzing past me.
Yep.
You know, like
Every
you'll be
time.
like, shit, there it was, and I missed it, you know, like it was too late because I didn't recognize it in time.
But everybody does that.
Yeah, I think that's a win though, like at the new level.
That you
like,
recognized it.
that I recognized it, right.
It's exactly right. And when you're rolling with somebody, if you think to yourself, oh, I could have hit a triangle there, but you didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you thought that at that moment, that's a win because you're like,
It's a progression.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a win. That's a win that but it's coming back continuously is where you gain that knowledge.
This is why you're one of the true pillars of the gym, you know, to be able to sit down and have conversations with new guys like this that, I mean, you've heard me whine about it plenty, you know, starting out about this just sucks. Like, I've never done anything harder than jiu-jitsu. I don't think any of us probably have. Not physically, not with the combination of mentally and physically.
No, that's right.
You know, the most humiliating. I tell everybody it's the most humiliating, empowering thing I've ever done.
I've never been more mentally taxed and had my ass just thoroughly kicked at the exact same time.
Yep, that's right. Well, you know, you think about if you're doing something physical like I don't know, like a ruck or whatever, you know, think about something that you've done that was really hard. And in the middle of that, you just feel like you're starting to drain away. And what do? Maybe you slow down or maybe you stop and take a break. But when you're in jiu-jitsu, if you do that, that other guy's going to capitalize on that. And you can't let that happen. You just can't let that happen because they're going to capitalize on that. So that's why it's so hard because you're fighting against somebody else that's using forces against you. But when you're doing fitness things, and I'm not saying fitness things aren't hard because they are, and guys that ruck and run 50 miles, I mean, that's incredible kind of stuff. But the thing of it is if they just want to stop at that point or slow down, they can. If you're in the middle of a match with somebody and you try to stop or slow down, they're going to capitalize on that, and you're going to pay for it.
The mental aspect of it is so different. Like during, I've never done a ruck, like a long distance ruck, but I've tried to run, you know, longer distances. To do that, sometimes you kind of have to like shut your mind off and go to a different place where you have no focus on it. You can kind of like go to a dark place, and try to just drown out the suck of what you're doing. In jiu-jitsu, you can't do that. You have to be mentally present through the physical, you know, through the physical punishment.
You can check out and then you can wake up a few seconds later to a
That's
sternum
exactly-
rub and be like, hey, buddy, you okay?
That's exactly it. If you check out, like if you try to check out to deal with the misery of it, like you're done. Like you're not in it anymore. Where you can kind of mentally check out and just one foot in front of the other on the long ruck or the long run. You know, it's just as simple as that, one foot in front of the other. But there's nothing in jiu-jitsu that allows you to do that and even sniff being successful.
Yeah.
So it's just a wild combination of mental and physical punishment and endurance and presence.
Well, and that's why I don't know what the numbers are, but you know, one out of 100 white belts that start doing jiu-jitsu ends up being a black belt, and the other 99 quit because of whatever the reasons are. Because, but most of the time it's because it's hard. It's a really hard sport, you know. And you get guys that come into jiu-jitsu that do things like CrossFit, and you know they're very fit, they're very athletic, and all that kind of stuff. And then they come into jiu-jitsu, and they get mauled, you know, by somebody like Colton. And they're like, that's not supposed to happen to me, you know? And their ego won't allow them to come back and continue to take that beating for several years because it literally happens for several years, you know?
And you mix it's physically tough, it's mentally tough, and it's easy for life to get in the way.
Absolutely.
Like the guys that are 20 that come to the gym with no kids that still live with their mom, like lucky for them. They go to work, maybe. They go to school.
Yep.
Smoke a little bit of weed and come hang out. So like that's super lucky for them. Like I wish I would have had that at 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you try to mesh a career, a life, a kid, everything else. on top of, oh, do I want to get my ass kicked, or do I want to like watch TV and hold the baby for a while?
Right.
Yeah, that's an easy
Right.
one. That's what I really love, and I consistently brag about our gym, and especially my buddies now that are there, is that accountability of, if I don't show up, I'm going to let them down. If I don't show it, because if I don't show up, Matt may not get the training that he needs.
That's right.
Um,
And he needs training
Yeah, he needs all of the training.
in a lot of things.
yeah. So
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so that was a lot to unpack with it.
Yeah, that was a lot.
But you are the culture guy of the gym. Like 100%. So what do you think is the biggest driving factor of culture that keeps AForce not above, like in a shitting on other places, but like above different places? Or separates it, I guess would be the other way to say it.
I think it's just a welcoming environment. I mean, everybody makes everybody feel welcome. Everybody wants everybody to be there. Everybody enjoys having each other there. We try to, like the cookouts, we try to do the cookouts so that we kind of get away from the gym and not to get away from, I guess my thoughts about like the cookouts is why I like those is because I want the families to realize that it's not just your husband or your boyfriend's gym that he goes to, but it's a family environment that we want everybody to be a part of that. Because if it wasn't for your wife or, a girlfriend or a mom or a dad or whatever supporting that person to come to that gym, you wouldn't be there. And so I think that the cookouts are more than anything to kind of help show appreciation to those that support everybody that comes to the gym, so that everybody understands that it's a family environment, and we want it to be safe. We want it to be clean. We want you to learn there. We want you to be better. There's nothing more exciting than to get that first submission. For me to get submitted by somebody that's been coming there training by some submission that I was not expecting, I get pure joy out of that, because I'm like, I was not expecting that, and they hit me with it, and I find tremendous joy in that. But I just think it's like I've said this before, like my church that I go to, I've been there for almost 20 years now, and I love my church, and I love the people at the church. But I think that if I needed something, people from the gym would be there before the church would be there. And I'm not saying anything against the church. I'm just saying that's how much of a family environment that we have there, that the people are willing to help each other out. And we don't have egotistical people there that, just dominate people in a threatening way. Everybody wants to try to help each other to be better. And so, I just think it's, we're there to help each other learn, and that's kind of the culture that there is. And the Mikes, really do a good job of cultivating that. And everybody, we don't have anybody there that's a jerk.
No.
We don't have anybody at the gym that's a jerk, And the ones that have been there in the past that may have been jerks, they just kind of weed themselves out.
That's cool that there's a culture that kind of weeds it out.
It just happens because they just don't fit there.
Yep.
They just don't fit there, and they have to be somewhere where they thrive on that kind of stuff, and they need to be somewhere that does the same thing. And there's some gyms out there that are, hardcore, brutal, hate each other type competitors in the same gym, and I don't want to be a part of that.
No.
I don't want to be a part of that, because that's where people end up getting hurt and stuff. But I don't know. I just think we have a really great gym, and I think we make it very welcoming, and I think everybody is when new people come on the mats, everybody's there willing to help them. And, Colton, might abuse a few of them, but that's okay.
I don't abuse anybody other
That's
than myself, subjecting myself to being strangled.
But everybody makes them feel welcome, and I just think it's a great thing. And, it's, I can't think of the term, but, I want that gym to be successful because I want to be I want that gym to continue to be there so that I can continue to train there. So it's kind of self-fulfilling in some regards that I want it to be successful. But I enjoy seeing it grow. And, you remember when we were starting out, you'd have 4 or 5 people in a class, and now there's 40 people in a class.
That's what I told Big Mike on his episode. Dude, I remember showing up for weeks on end, and it was like me and you.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy how much it's grown.
Mm-hmm.
And that wouldn't happen if it wasn't, I don't think that would happen if it wasn't for the culture.
I agree with that. And I'm looking back at what it was to what it is, and even the Mike said it in both their episodes of, you are the greatest brand and gym ambassador that could have come along. You really, you're personable, you know how to drive culture, and you're the first guy to pick up a mop and go clean. And now we know the why behind it. Now we know why you do that. But
it's got to be done, and I can do it as well as anybody.
So, okay, yes, that's factual. But you're also the oldest guy at the gym.
Yeah, you're tenured.
You say that a lot to me.
You're also a brown belt at the gym. And I don't know, maybe it's some like because of the job that we do and some of like the militaristic aspects of it, like kind of the new guys get stuck with, doing the things that other people have kind of earned the right not to do them anymore, I guess you could say. So, like, Colton and I being white belts, I expect us to be there cleaning the mats every night.
Yeah.
And Trent jumps in and cleans the mats with us every night. You've been there longer than anybody else. You're the oldest guy there. You're a brown belt, and you're in there cleaning the shitters every night.
They're clean.
Yeah. But why? Why not be like, hey, new guy that has trained here for a year plus or however long and, never picked up a mop. I mean, you could easily be like, hey, go help out and clean those mats, or go help out and clean the bathroom. Why is it that you could easily say you've earned the right, not and reasonably so?
Oh, he very much earned the right.
Earned the right to not be in there cleaning shitters, but you're the first one to go grab a shitter cleaner and go in there and do it. Why?
Because I think for me, because I want everybody to have that moment of time at the end of the night where you just kind of sit around and kind of heckle each other and BS and do those kinds of things, because I think it helps with the atmosphere of the gym to be able to do those kinds of things. And I can go clean the bathroom while you guys are doing that.
You don't want to go out and heckle each other and hang out and have that time at the end of class? Or
you know what? I would if somebody else just grabbed the
We try.
stuff and started cleaning.
they will have to clean a toilet scrubber out of your cold, dead hands one of these days, like, because you refuse to let anybody else do it.
I just want you guys to have that time. I just want you to have that time. I don't. I don't know. I just want you. I find joy in seeing you guys sitting out there heckling each other. I find joy in that.
He is forever a class act.
Yeah. I mean, this is literally from your early days at CFI, earning your way up through a pretty big company to a really good position there, to being retired and training jiu-jitsu and working your way up through the ranks in, at the jiu-jitsu gym and being the senior guy there and continuing to just set the example Like it all boils down. It's a character thing.
100%.
Just who you are.
Very much who you are.
It's leadership.
Absolutely.
It's just genuine leadership. And that's why you're the most respected guy at the gym. And you're the most humble, like you're laughing about it, but it's just a fact. Like the atmosphere of the gym is different when you're not there.
Yep.
It's not bad. The atmosphere at the gym's not bad.
It just sucks because we have to remember everybody's name instead of you walking around and knowing everybody's name and tying it all together.
Yeah, the atmosphere is different without you around the gym since you've been injured. You're a true leader at the gym, but it's tying it all together, like your success that you had at work. You didn't go to college. You didn't you just worked. You just earned your way into all the positions that you had in, and you do the same thing at the jiu-jitsu gym just through character and leadership. You're true.
I think you summed it up. I mean, your dad did a pretty good job of teaching you just find work. Find work.
Yeah, that's the way my dad was. I mean, he didn't. He just worked his way up. He started out working in a foundry and ended up in management in a Missouri Steel Castings, and he did kind of the same thing that I did.
Yeah,
to some extent, but I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of like you say. It's just kind of who I am. There's just things that I get joy out of that some people would think that's weird, but
no,
I find I get joy out of seeing you guys have joy. I mean,
I think they broke the mold when they made you man.
For sure.
100%.
For sure, absolutely.
Like they just don't raise people like you anymore, and it's a shame.
It's because I'm old.
Yeah, but
that's the values, man.
Yeah.
Like it's you do it. Yeah.
I know, like for me and my friends, like I can say personally, I'm better for knowing you. I think my friend group is better for knowing you and for getting to train with you. And the gym is 100% better because you're there.
Well, I appreciate that. So. That means a lot. It really does mean a lot. But there's an author that I like to read. His name is Bob Goff, and one of his quotes is, "When joy is a habit, love is a reflex." And I think that when people find joy, it just makes everything so much easier. It just makes life easier. It just makes it easy to be nice to people. It just makes it easy to just enjoy everything about life. And it's you got to find that joy. You got to find that joy, and once you find that, everything else becomes pretty easy.
I can't think of a better place to wrap this thing up than that right there, Randy.
Dude.
I am covered in goosebumps.
Dude, thank you so much for coming and doing this. This has been
a
great night.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, it's been great.